I'm here today on Island Focus with Rear Admiral Pete Gumataotao, who is the director of the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. Aloha, Pete. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Aloha, Lila, and thank you for having me.
Can you share with us briefly what happens there, and also how do you play into the future of Hawaii?
Thank you for that question. And I would say before you start thinking about what the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies does, what we do, it's important that we talk about why we do it. And I have to go back over 25 years, Lila, when the late Senator Daniel K. Inouye had this vision. Talking with other leaders here in Hawaii and back in DC, Senator Inouye said, hey, what if we established a center here in Hawaii? He saw the vision of Hawaii and its role in the future, that we can bring leaders that's out in the region and here together, both civilian and military. Beyond that, the private industry, et cetera, to come together to do what? Well, they're very, very seasoned, they're very experienced. So to chat about common interests, not the things that separate us, but the things that bind us, to build an understanding of this very complex world we live in. And we see it even getting more and more complex. And what do you do with that? Take that shared understanding, take that network relationship he was seeing, and he says, let's get to mutual solutions. And so I'd be very, very happy to tell you that after 25 years of doing that, I believe that the DKI APCSS is living up to the vision of what Senator Inouye has looked to do. And I'm just very proud that I'm here with you to kind of share this with the people of Hawaii, because this center, this institution, even as an Office of Secretary of Defense institution, it's a regional center. It's here in Oahu. And you should all be very proud of the fact that it's here. And it's building that relationships and understanding to get to mutual outcomes.
And what I appreciate so much about what you're saying is that every decision really needs to start with why. And every organization, if they know their why, is definitely going to be able to fulfill what's important for Hawaii. You know, having worked for Senator Inouye when I was in college in DC, I learned to listen. I know that was one of his hallmarks. Is that what happens in your center?
It's almost like you're reading my mind when you think about what we do there. So we have folks that come, and I talk to you about the diversity from over 45 countries. And I would say it's not even just reserved to the Indo-Pacific, but around the world they come. In fact, even today as I speak, we have over 210 participants, both civilian and military, that goes around the world, that covers, to be honest, all the sub-regions of Indo-Pacific that are up on the net with us, some virtual, some in person. And they're talking and they're listening to each other. And I remember sitting in a seminar session just yesterday, and I heard somebody say, you know, I'm looking at India from a different perspective now, based on what the participant from New Delhi was telling them. This kind of construct can only work if you are transparent, respectful, inclusive, and then you have this environment where, like Chatham House rules, but we call it non-attribution, that whatever you say and share with each other cannot be printed or cannot be referenced to that individual or the country without the express permission of those individuals. They're talking about common interest items, and they're professionals. So this is not an academic institution where you go, well, philosophically, whatever. They got their oars in the water on the same issue, and they are so appreciative that somebody else understands. They go, yeah, have you tried this? Have you looked at it on this? Or this is my perspective on that.
I'd like you to also share a final message with our audience. But what I really hear you saying is how important trust is.
The one thing I would offer you is, in this 21st century, where we have emerging technologies, rapid information flow, instant communication, technology and none of that will solve issues. It has to be people. And to the people of Hawaii, you're part of that. We're part of that. And what I mean is that seek solutions not by yourself, but with others, and challenge your biasness, your confirmation bias, And if it makes you uncomfortable, don't be afraid of it. Ask people why. Why do you feel that way? Because ultimately, it's relationships that really respect each other and are transparent and are inclusive that leads to trust, Lila. And only with trust can you have enduring solutions that happen out there. You know, people leave our center transformed in the idea that I'm not alone. We can collectively work to solve this. They go back and help write their national policy, write their training programs, invest in including women into the conversation, because we're strong advocates of women in peace and security. And that vision, I go back to Senator Inouye. He was such an awesome statesman. He was such a humble person, but he saw the value of relationships. So I really am so proud that APCSS carries the name of Daniel K. Inouye, and because he was such a great person and a great leader.
Thank you so much for joining us, Pete, and for giving us the hope that who we are in Hawaii, that's the future for the world. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Lila. And you're welcome to come down anytime to the center.
You've just had the opportunity to meet Rear Admiral Pete Gumataotao, who is the director of the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies.